Dr. Pepperman and the werewolf himself, Mr. David Naughton. Take your mic.
Hello, Omaha. Wouldn't you like to be a werewolf too?
Go ahead and take it out. You have to.
All right, if I gotta talk, and I gotta. Oh, really?
There you go.
Hello.
Well, where should we start at the beginning?
Well, Bruce, where are you from? Oh, you're doing the interview.
I can turn into a werewolf when I get mad enough.
I know. Well, that's people. Well, I don't know where we should start. Maybe I should. I can tell you, some werewolf things. You know what I'd like to do, and it's hard to see the house, but. How many of you have never seen this film? Show of hands. Are you kidding me? So it's taken you 43 years to get here. I knew you'd show up, and that's why I'm here.
That's right.
Wow. Well, and I was looking at the audience. I know many of you are supporting the charity tonight, the Park Foundation, but usually the people that I see are sort of tat fans, tatted out. I mean, these guys, I have met people at these conventions and horror conventions that I do around the country and really around the world. We do them in Great Britain as well. And people have werewolves tattooed on their, we got any werewolf tattoos in the?
I hope not.
Oh, here's one. Hi, how are you? This is nothing personal. I'll just talk about what. And so they have, autographed faces and Slaughtered Lamb, which was the pub. And so those of you that haven't seen the film, I'll be talking tonight about something you haven't seen yet. And I won't do any spoiler alerts or any of that kind of stuff.
So how long were you in London when you filmed this? Was it 10 weeks, you said?
Yeah, this was this is one of these films that John Landis, who people remember from Animal House and the Blues Brothers, were the current successful films that he was doing and known for at the time. He had this werewolf script that he had written when he was 21 years old, working on a film called Kelly's Heroes. It was a well-known film, and he was a production assistant. Production assistants are the lowest on the pole as far as film companies.
I got a little story for you about that too. John Landis told me when he was on that film, he was so low, like you said, at the bottom of the rung, that Donald Sutherland asked him to babysit Kiefer.
Well, that tells you where he stood in the thing. So he wrote this script. He wanted to make the film. He finally, with the success of these other films that he did, he was finally able to make this movie. So in October of 1980, he started casting. Little did anyone know, and we learned all this later, he was financing it himself. He went out and got a loan for like $10 million, which is what this film was budgeted at originally. I think it came in at $8 million. And $8 million. Now today, if you were to make this film, well, I'd ask for a few more bucks, I'll tell you that.
You can't make a TV commercial for $8 million.
Pardon?
You can't make a TV
No, what can you make with $8 million bucks? Probably a lot, but I mean, that's what the budget was. So he wanted to beat other films, like The Howling was getting ready to be in production, and he had shopped his script around for years, trying to get studios to green light this project, and none really went for it. So he raised the money himself, and what his deal was borrow the money. Polygram Pictures was actually the funder of this film. And he had to deliver the finished product, and he had a certain number of months to do it in. So he was going to get the money, go make the movie, bring it back, all complete, and deliver it, which is a little different way than movies are made, always. But that was the situation with this film. So he wanted to get it cast, so he was looking around for people. I was able to meet him in Los Angeles at his office at Universal Studios, and it was one of those kinds of things where my agent said, okay, you have a drive-on pass at Universal tomorrow at 2 o'clock. You're going to drive-on pass? You just don't get a chance to drive on the lot. So this was kind of a special moment for me, certainly. And I went in, was looking, I remember being in his waiting room office, early going, I've never met him, I don't really know what he looks like. Suddenly this whacked out guy with a beard comes, hey, come on in! And that was John. we sat down and we talked about whatever he was asking me about, and he knew me from these commercials that I had been doing. I had been under contract with Dr. Pepper since 1977, and this was 1981. So he was familiar with those, and he was a big Tab drinker. Remember Tab? Oh, come on. He even had Tab shipped to England when we went over there going, "Hey, John, your Tab's here." So anyway, so he gave me the script and said, "Here, read this and call me tomorrow. Here's my office number. Call me tomorrow." That was it. I mean, it was really kind of a half-hour meeting of talking and listening to John. And the next, so I get home and I'm reading it. No, there's script. No, there's Jack and David. And there's Jenny, or played by Nurse Price. And David turns into a werewolf. I wonder what that's about. Turn the page. Very brief descriptions of this transformation. So the next day I call him, I go, "It's really cool." He says, "Do you want to be a werewolf?" I go, "Yeah, sure.
Who doesn't?
I'm available." So he says, "Well, you got to get over and meet Rick Baker right away. Rick Baker's waiting for the casting of these two parts, of these two, what they call the boys, David and Jack. And he needs to start, the preliminary makeup." So that was the urgency with John for this. So this is, as I said, October, November 1980, went over to Rick's office. He had rented space. This guy later, became a 7-time Oscar winner, had a big building in Glendale with like 100 employees, sculptors, artists. But when I met him, he was renting space and he had a couple of young guys as his sort of apprentices, learning how to do what it was that I had to undergo, which, there's a video on it on one of the DVDs of how, seeing the molds made, and it started with arms being molded, which is okay. I mean, you're in this, big vat of quick drying cement, and it's not too terribly painful, but it's, awkward. Then legs, that's great. He says, "Okay, now, tomorrow, we're gonna do your head." And I said, "Well, have you guys done this before?" Because yeah, once. Jimmy did it, and he's here, so it was really touch and go. So I did that head thing 5 times, different molds. And this is This is like if you've ever had molds done of your teeth. It's like a glue-like alginate, they called it, quick drying cement. Well, to imagine this being applied to your head, you have like a skull cap on, and then they start laying this stuff, quick drying. So it feels like concrete as it's drying. And you're under this mask for about 20 minutes. And you're going, "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay. This is really terrible. I want to get..." And then after that, they go, "Okay, now we need a couple of snarls and hold it with your mouth open. So this is going to be a little different." So I'd have to be like, for as long as this would start to dry. And then they would cut up the back of the skull and then, pry this stuff off. And that was the beginning of the molds they were making. So that was, as I was just going to say, and this is the point of this, that was November 1980. We get over to England in February, we start shooting. It's about a 10-week shoot, and the editor was there, everybody was there, and continued to cut the film, and it was released on August 21st, 1981. So really, we're talking about 10 months, start to finish, from casting to release, all to just sort of beat the howling, and just be this new release for John. So that's that.
Part one.
Part one, yes.
Then the shooting of the film.
Shooting the film was, it was really fun. I had gone to drama school in London. I had studied acting at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, known as Lambda. Yeah, I got over there to find out where's the music section. There was no music really. It was primarily a drama school taught by actors and theater, specialists. But it was really the classical, Shakespeare was really the thing that I wanted to, sort of zero in on. It was what I'd seen. Living in London as a student was fantastic at that time because you could see there were so many people in the West End. I mean, I would go to the theater 3-4 times a week, primarily just to watch and see, who I saw. I saw Laurence Olivier and John Gielgud and on and on. Alex Guinness. Alex Guinness came to our school to talk to us. So, you really got a chance to, as an acting student, see real people, doing what it is that we were hoping to do on stage. Then I got a job at the Royal Court Theatre. I don't know if any of you have been to London. Royal Court is a small little theater, sort of considered off-Broadway, but some big shows, some big playwrights. Sam Shepard used to do his plays there for the first time. So I was working front of house, of course, as an usher. And in those days, they would charge for programs. So we would, they were like 50 pence or something, for a program. They weren't just given out. So all the American tourists that would come through, I would switch to English really quick. So I wouldn't identify as, I'm sorry, that's 50 pence, please. And they go, well, what do you mean you got to pay for a program? I go, that's right, please take your seats. But that was a place where I watched and befriended Alan Bates. I don't know if you remember the great Alan Bates, who was also in a play. Malcolm McDowell was in a play there. Where you got to see and meet and talk to, or go out for a drink after the show, and you realize that these are real people. This isn't just a myth. This is how they make their living, and it was inspiring as an actor, as an acting student, I should say. So then 5 years after that is when I met Landis, and I'm back in London, only this time on a film, and with a thing called per diem, and housing is provided. You want a nice apartment? Sure, we'll get you. And it was certainly a completely different experience. Although I knew London, and I knew where we were shooting. This movie was all done in and around locations in London and Wales, which we took as the moors, which is in the north of England, and really impractical to try to drive a film crew all the way to the north of England for this. So we used Wales as that opening scenes, which you'll see. And,
close enough.
Yeah, close enough. It looked pretty barren, and was. And we meet the first day. There's Griffin Dunn. How do you do? I'm your best friend. Hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. And the very first, it so happened in this film, we started at the beginning, and that's not always how a shooting schedule starts. It really depends on what it is that they're, and it was all because Rick Baker needed as much time as he could possibly get to prepare for the first makeup he was going to be doing was Griffin's makeup. Which, as you see, Griffin gets attacked. We both get attacked by the wolf, and only one of us survives. But
kind of, sort of survives.
Yes, and so we started at the beginning, which was really kind of good for us. You start the movie at the beginning. First day, we're in the truck with the sheep. We're coming down. It's day one. It's day one. We're going, hey, I wonder when's lunch. This is good. And kind of eased into the film that way. It wasn't like right off the bat we were doing anything too horrific, as it were. And
that came later.
Yeah, it certainly came later. I just tell you that the film, it was, it's a good storyline. There's along the line we meet Jenny Agutter. She's the only, playing Nurse Price. She's the only real, woman in the movies. And we were all young guys like, hey, Jenny, I asked her, do you want to be a pepper? She didn't know what I was talking about. It's never not worked. Come on. But so then it got, then it starts to get serious. When we're out there, as you can see in the film, it's kind of going along and we're joking along, and then suddenly we hear growls, and that's all done in post, by the way. We didn't hear any growls out there. That's where acting comes in, folks. Don't try that at home. What is that? I don't know. What do you think? Where are we looking? Let's look up there. Where are you looking? Oh no, it's going to be over there. Okay, ready, go. We're looking, So there are a lot of outtakes because we're looking all over the place. And John's going, more rain. We have rain machines in England. I go, it rains all the time here. Well, it wasn't raining that night.
Not enough.
So we got rain machines pouring on us. You go, can you warm up that water a little bit? It's not a shower. So we're in, in our parkas, and we're out there and it's cold. And then the attack comes. I should tell you, you haven't asked me a question yet. How am I doing?
You have become John Landis.
I am John Landis. John talks more than anybody.
Except for you.
Except, I'm trying to repeat. We did a BBC 4 all-talk radio, in 2000 to promote the DVD release. And it was Jenny and Griffin and I. So Griffin and I flew over to London with John, and Jenny met us. We're sitting in a studio in BBC 4, and none of us got to talk but John for an hour. Now, it's not like you're on TV where you can go, hi, you got any questions for us? Not just to sort of show you.
So you're making it for lost time here?
Yeah. But, I mean, it's sort of inspiring to first of all, be in this theater. This is a magnificent place. Be up here on this stage. I mean, it's got the old juices flowing. Like, would you like to hear an audition piece, anybody? No, but this is really a beautiful place. And so, you know, John, so the night we're going to do the attack, Rick has got 2 wolf heads. Now, Jeff, you can probably relate to this, but these are the big heads. These are big jaws, big teeth, everything's big. And Rick's operating it. It's sort of like a puppet. It's on his arm, and he says to Griffin, look, I've only got 2 of these. So whatever you're gonna do, and we don't know what that is, go easy on my wolf head. Because, I mean, this took months to build, and it's, you know, very beautiful, and looks scary as hell. I remember being there, watching this thing, and so he's got it, and a jaw, and it's got these big teeth that he made out of whatever hard, you know, it's hard material. So Griffin's going to be attacked, and so take 1, he goes, Griffin goes batshit crazy, and just practically rips the wolf off of Rick's hand, and Rick's pissed, and John's going, God, that was beautiful, and Rick's going like, my wolf, it's on the ground, he's going to pick it up. And it's, you know, it's got a, hey, how you doing? I'm the wolf, you know. So he's got so you can't use that wolf head.
They were his babies.
So Rick's trying to say to the actor, and you're never supposed to talk to the actor, going like, I asked you to go easy on the wolf. So Griffin's going like, well, you know, I'm being attacked. How are you supposed to act? So at take 2, Rick was ready. And on take 2, actually, Rick just ripped into him, and that's what you'll see in the film. Rick's retribution for getting the wolf head.
Well, you know, Rick is the first makeup artist to win an Oscar for special makeup effects for this film. The first one ever.
Really?
It's true.
No, I knew that. So as a result of these makeups and this transformation thing that I had to go through, you know, the Academy created, a category for special makeup, and Rick was the first winner. And yes, I got to mention, that was it. The extent of it was he was thanking people for it. And he has since in panels said how he tortured us. You know, from my experience, we shot the entire film. It was all done except for the transformation scene. So I was the only actor on the call sheet, and my calls would be like 4 or 5:30 in the morning. And I was in that chair for 10 hours a day for 5 days for this 2.5 minute transformation scene. And it's not fun, folks. You know? You're sort of going, are we breaking for lunch? Of course, breaking for lunch for me was, I had these big paws on right off the bat. They eliminate your hands, so you're sort of like, you can't really eat, you know. And then, like, Rick, I think that looks pretty good, because we're about halfway there. You know, and we do it, and then we go out on the set. Finally, the crew calls were in the afternoon, and we could only shoot so much for the limited part of the transformation that we had. And John, being the fast director, really one of the fastest directors I've ever worked with, as far as being decisive, knowing what he wants, being confident that that's the angle. Good, got it. And Rick would go, oh no, well, wait a minute. You know, this took months to make. Can't we shoot? He goes, what else does it do? That was John's favorite question. What else does it do? And Rick would be like, but it's, you know, I got it. He says, could we shoot it from, we can, all right, one, and they'd make a little deal. I'd be somewhere like in the floor, or, you know, in some state of this makeup going, I think we got it. You know, anybody want to ask my opinion? But no, they didn't. And it was Rick and John, and we shot it in a sort of storyboard sequence, and that was it. You know, it was pretty primitive. There was a scene where I'm actually in the floor, and just the rest of my body is this giant body, wolf body that Rick made. But underneath, under the feet, are drilled through the floor on poles, and there's a guy underneath there going, and we're going, wow, this is high tech, is what this is. This is high tech, and action. You know, and so that's kind of what we did. But when you put it together and you cut it and put some of those great Moon songs on there, it'll scare you. For those of you that are, that haven't seen the film and are here, I hope you're here with a friend. yours. You're gonna grab them.
For the sake of time, we got about 25 minutes left before we start the picture. Let's do some Q&A with the audience a little bit here. Janelle, are you available? Also, didn't get a chance to thank I'm remiss for not remembering, but because he's not here tonight, our longtime sponsors, Louis Rotella. He's at his grandson's wrestling in Des Moines tonight, so he couldn't join us. I had someone to thank Rotella. They've been longtime friends and sponsors. Great people, Lou Rotella. And Doug Smith. Thank you. Great people. Okay, Janelle, let's get some questions.
One question. Thank you for coming to Omaha. We welcome you. What drove you to be an actor? Was it
What drove me?
famous? Was it your motivation? What made you do it?
I think I was in first grade. It was the first time that I was actually on stage in a little, we had a little talent show. You have your elementary school talent shows, and the teacher's going, all right, well, who can do what? Like who can sing? Nobody, who can, kids, you're in first grade. But that was my first exposure to it. Now, I have an older brother. People know my brother James Naughton, who did television and theater and, won a couple of Tony Awards in New York. So he was 5 years older than me, still is, and it's amazing how that works. And we all have, he and my sister who's between us, and then me, we all have 2 kids, we all have grandchildren. We're all born, about a day or 2 apart in the years that we're in. It's pretty weird. But that was it. We were always in school plays. By the time I got to high school, I grew up in West Hartford, Connecticut. We had a great guy, Bill Lauer, the late Bill Lauer, who was a musical director and a singer, a really, strong baritone, taught us to sing, taught us how to use our voice. And it was in those experiences in high school, doing the high school musical, that really sort of the plant was planted, the seed was planted as far as, wow, this is kind of fun, but would I ever dare do it, to try to do it for a living? Then I got to college, I went to the University of Pennsylvania, drama major? No. Is there a drama major? No. It's a Philadelphia school, very good school, but I had to do all the extracurricular sort of, drama stuff and plays. And there was a director from Temple University who said to me, you're gonna do this, professionally, right? I mean, you should really pursue this. And it was one of the first times I'd been encouraged to try to go and said, but you maybe think about training, My brother had already gone, he went to Yale Drama School, got a job on Broadway right off the bat, and I knew I needed some training, and that's when I applied to drama schools in England, primarily to see about this, the classics was really what I thought. My parents were teachers, so our whole sort of MO was, you need training, you need education, don't just decide, be a self-proclaimed, and I've met many over the years, a self-proclaimed actor like, I'm an actor. Well, my question to that usually is, have you been on stage? Have you done a play? Because that to me is the definition, really. If you can do a play and you're doing it night after night, the same performance and the same blocking, then you can sort of understand what it is to be an actor. Otherwise, you're just, another pretty face.
We have a question over here.
Hi, welcome to Omaha.
Thank you.
I was just curious, after making the movie and playing your role as David the Werewolf, did you find it easier to get dates?
Quite a question.
Well, let's see, how do I answer that?
Yes, sir.
They're recording this, right? That's always the big disclaimer. It was the pepper stuff that I was, sort of really making my claim to fame. Being a pepper idea. That was one of those situations where I went to an audition in New York and they wanted dancers. Well, if you go to New York or an audition for dancers, you got real dancers. These are trained from ballet to jazz to tap. They know all the moves. And so I really thought I was way out of my league for those auditions. But as it turned out, he could hold a bottle, and I got a chance to do these 3 commercials for the first year. And that was sort of, you want to meet girls? Be a pepper.
Another question?
Can you tell us about MacGyver and Richard Dean Anderson?
Yeah, I couldn't see where that question came from, but MacGyver was it was a hit show, so it was one of those credits that you have as an actor when you're, doing or in between gigs or waiting for stuff. Shows like Touched by an Angel, Murder She Wrote, MacGyver. You know, you have those, you add those to your resume if you can get in and do them. But Richard D. Anderson was cool as, you know, too cool for school. This guy was nice guy. You know, you always hope, what's it going to be like when you meet the star of the show as a guest? Because you never really, as a guest on shows, you don't have a lot of say, you know. You just sort of have to show up when you do. They expect you to know your lines. You meet the director, and you hope the star will talk to you. And he was one of those guys who was very nice, very nice. The other, probably the most fun guy I ever had a chance to work with, Dick Van Dyke, when he was on, you know, he did, what the heck was it? When he and his son,
Diagnosis Murder?
Diagnosis Murder, yeah. I mean, what a wonderful man. Angela Lansbury, I'll just tell you a quick Angela Lansbury story. I'm doing, you know, her show, and we're sitting down, so she's just wrapping an episode, and she's starting the next show. I mean, that's just how it works in the day's work. They go to the next episode. So I'm sitting down, I'm introduced to her. No, I had seen her on Broadway in Gypsy, you know. I mean, this is Angela Lansbury. And she says, hello, did you do it? I said, I'm sorry? She says, are you the murderer?
You're a werewolf.
I go, what, you don't read these things? I mean, I go, whoosh, there goes my bubble. She hadn't read the episode, you know. But I realized then, and in the course of this episode that I did with her, was all her lines were now down to, you don't say. And then what happened? Oh, no, really? I mean, you know, you don't have to read the show when you got those lines. We had all the yabba yabba dialogue, all the guests. But yeah, Richard D. Anderson, really good guy.
One more question?
I just wanted to say there was a lot of people raising their hands that haven't seen the movie. Me and my buddy here saw it. We were juniors in high school, and so we really made a big impact on us. And so we brought our kids, but they had not seen it. So I didn't even brief them. So they're going to see the jump scares and all that stuff.
How old are they?
21 and 26.
Oh, that's okay. You know, this was back in '81. You know, the rating system, rated R, children under 17 not permitted listening. So what I meet at these shows, last weekend I was in Lexington, Kentucky. 30,000 people showed up at this horror convention called Scare Fest. 30,000. I mean, it was big, and there were some big people there from Scare, Scare the movie and Scream, huge. You know, most of the cast. So people were out to see them. But what I always get is people say, you know, I was 8 years old and we saw this film. Did you see it in the theater? Well, no, but I go, well, see, that's the thing. You know, so you have to see this movie as it was originally intended.
And with a big audience, too.
Yeah, big audience and on a big screen. It's kind of more fun.
Just like tonight.
Yeah, just like tonight. And what we used to do was go in and sneak when it was running and playing in theaters, was get into the theater and sit in the back and know what was coming. And literally watch, I'd never seen this before, people leaving their seats. So it might happen to you.
Another question?
I need to get around.
Okay. Can't see.
I'm getting my steps in.
Big theater.
Yes. Oh, there are many of those. Yeah.
That'd be all night.
Yeah, I mean, there are many of those. You know, the thing is, as an actor, you sort of have to get the mentality that they don't know what they want, so you have to go in there, be confident enough to show them that you're what they want. And that's a hard, place to get, to be confident enough, because it always used to be, I wonder what they're looking for. I wonder, how do I do this so that, I really need to know what it is, and that's going to be the key. It's not, they don't know, and you walk in, and if you're that, that doesn't mean you start at the door or in character, but that you give yourself the confidence to go in and say, this is what I do, and be prepared. You have to be prepared, and you have to be early in my business. If you're on time, you're late. That's what one of our teachers used to tell us. If you're on time, you're late. I want you there early, because there's really no excuse for if you show up late. I've had that happen to me and was fortunate enough to have people going, well, you get one, you get one late. But in theater, you don't, the show goes up, you have to come in, check in, there's a half-hour call, you have to sign in, and if in the event, and I've been in productions where if somebody's not there, you have to call the understudy who's standing by and get them down there going, you're going on tonight. You know, that's usually with little rehearsal, and I've been in productions where the understudy, I've also understudied myself. It's a kind of a nerve-wracking job to have. But as far as to answer your question, what job? You know, Police Academy was one that I thought I was really going to get, you know. That was a show I thought I had, kind of in the bag. And you can't be too cocky, you know, or they get, you know, or I've also been in auditions where the job's already cast, but they have to have auditions. So they see you for roles that aren't even available. That used to be really frustrating, you know, so you just have to know that after you come out of the audition, you're not going to hear anything unless you get it. They're not going to call you up and say, hey, thanks, you really did a nice job. Or you hear back, you have your agent call the people and say, so what happened? They go, well, they're going in another direction. Well, what direction is that?
Yeah, right. Well, I'll do 2 more questions. There's one more here.
So we were sitting with you last night.
There you are.
But tonight I brought my sister-in-law. She asked me how old you were, and I said, I don't know.
I'm whatever you think I am. If the role calls for it, you know, I went from like, there used to be a thing called the Player's Guide, and that was the book. This is way before internet, you know. So they had a Player's Guide, and it was by category. There were young women, they were ingenues, young leading men, character, you know, and then you get to the back, and it's like, that's where I am now. You know, but I used to play leading men, now I'm like, is it the uncle, the father? You know, I haven't played grandfather yet. I don't think, although I am a grandfather. I have 2 beautiful little granddaughters living up in Vermont. But yeah, I mean, you know, I'm an 80s guy. I was in things like Teen Beat. Come on. Really? No, please do not apply. I don't admit that too often, only when I'm in Omaha.
One question here.
Well, I know that because you were on my wall. Because of you. But that wasn't my question. So, the chemistry between you and Jenny was amazingly hot, and I was young. I was in college.
We're getting to the question, right?
Yes. And I was in college, and I was surprised by that scene with that Marvelous Night for a Moon Dance. So, chemistry, was it real or was it acting?
Well, you know, we're actors, so, you know, when you go in and, you know, this is whoever you're introduced as playing the part of, that's, you know, that's the relationship that you try to form. What's best for me as an actor that came up through in theater is having read-throughs. It's like, you know, I asked the director if we're going to start a film, if there's time, because time is money, you know. But if you say, could we have a read-through where you sit down with everybody in the role that they're playing and you read the script? You hear the actor playing the other part for the first time. When normally in film and television, you're just sitting with your script and, you know, maybe you know who's playing the other part, maybe you don't. And it just adds to the chemistry right away. Jenny that was not the situation. I was just being myself because she was pretty hot and she was acting. That's a bummer. That's a bummer, you know, but she was the only gal in the movie, you know. And John was, you know, but what thing Landis would do is, and this is, you know, if you're in a scene with somebody and you're shooting a scene in a film, it's a collaboration. You got the camera guys, they got to catch what it is you're doing. You have to be aware of where the camera is. Your fellow actor has to know what you're doing. You have to know what you run it a couple of times so you get the sense of how the scene plays. What John would do is give one of the two of us a direction. And so the other one wouldn't know necessarily what was coming. That's not always fun, you know, because he'd want a real reaction. I said, John, you know, just trust your actors. You know, that's what we're supposed to do, is to portray this, whatever it is you want us to do. But don't surprise us. You know, I don't want to be tricked. Like, I didn't expect that, you know. And he did that a few times. Like the wolf cage. You got a quick minute for that story? For those of you that haven't seen it, yes, I play with wolves in this movie. These are real wolves. We're in London. We've got these 3 wolves. We're on a set. It's late in the afternoon. We've been working all day. And they go, okay, we're going to shoot the wolf scene. Now, this is where I wake up in a wolf cage after a night of terror.
And it's cold outside.
Yeah, well, of course, Bruce, you got to bring that up.
It's my job.
All right, it's cold in England. All right.
It's my job.
No, and what happens is that, they go, here's the set. And I'm looking, it's a set that they built, a cage. And we're going to have the wolves. We'll bring them in. They're in their cages now. We'll bring them in. We're ready to go. And they go, so you wake up, you get a sense of your bearings, and you leave. I go, leave where? They go, yeah, we want you to go up over the wall, up and over the top. I go, really? You haven't forgotten I'm naked in this scene. Yeah, well, do your best. I go, I'll tell you what, this is going to be what they call a one-off. This is a one-take job. I'm not going to hang in there with the wolves. They go, I said, yeah, these tame wolves? They go, no, but they've been fed. Well, thank you for that. Well, they're for snacks, I hope. And that was, so I wake up in the zoo, wake up, I see the wolf, and one starts to approach me. Like, I don't know what's the story. I mean, you can't read a wolf. It's not like they wag their tail, no. Their ears go back, no. They just have this eerie look of, kind of a yellowish gray eye, and they just kind of stare at you. And you don't know what they're thinking, but, I just was like, nice doggy, literally. And there's no fast movements, no loud noises. I go, well, in the script, I get out of there as pretty quickly as I can, so let's see how this goes. And it worked out. I mean, I got up, saw the wolf. It was like 5 feet away, and I sort of moved around. And then I had to go up and over the wall, which almost came apart because it was a set, They built it that night, the night before, and it was still, it's like, hey guys, did you mind trying the chain fence? Could you try to keep it on the wall so when I go on it? But there were a few of those things that happened.
One last question.
One last question.
Yeah, so I heard you say earlier, a lot of your fans come to you and say, hey, I watched this movie at around 8. Yeah, I was one of them kids.
There you are!
My question is, kind of for the fans, do you have a top 2 werewolf transformation or style? For me, number 1, not just because you're here. It is, mainly American Werewolf in London, number 2 being Dog Soldiers. I was curious about your 2.
Well, yeah, I think, and just, I know we're going to have to close because you probably want to see this film, but, what sort of kept it in the psyche of people, particularly around this time of year and Halloween, and, in your collection of DVDs, horror films, when CGI showed up, as you can see in your collection, some of it's, very realistic or, fantastic, but not scary enough, So when they say, well, what are the practical effects films that you see? So what set the bar pretty high, I think, was American Werewolf in London. Rick's work, winning an Academy Award, seeing this transformation. There were no camera tricks. This was all, effects that worked and performed. So I'd have to say, I'm not an expert in horror films. I don't, run out and we got to go see The Conjuring again, I don't do that. My thing is, as an actor, I'm more interested in story, that's my thing. If there happens to be, and there was subsequent from that film where I was approached to do different kinds of, I go, as long as there's no makeup, I'm in, because I've had my fill of sitting in a chair forever.
I bet.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah. Oh, wait.
we want to know, do you want to go out during the movie and meet people on the autograph and so on?
Oh, I guess, yeah, the work they've asked to do, and I've set up a table out there in the back, which I'm for selling 8x10s and movie posters that I have that I'll personally autograph for you if you want them. They're $40. They're going to be available either during the course of the film. I don't know that I was going to
Sure, during the film. During the film.
I guess I'm here during the course of the film, and also after the film.
Yes.
You don't want to obviously get up.
Keeps the lines smaller if you do it during the film.
Yeah, and be sign them and say hello, and that's it. I certainly appreciate the turnout tonight. It's really fun for me to, you know, it's not so much memory lane. I mean, I do a few of these appearances throughout the course of the year, but it was really, we didn't know at the time what kind of effect this film would have. You know, we didn't know, hey, in 43 years you're going to be in Omaha talking about it. So no, probably not. But I'm so glad you're here, and I hope you like the movie.